Hi, this video describes pre-planning and design considerations for roof-mounted solar and potential agrivoltaic installation on a residential property in Summit County, Colorado. The current property has a detached large garage with an ideal east-southeast facing slope. However, as we consider adding solar, we have to consider replacing the roof, the shingle roof that is near the end of its life. And with that also comes the consideration of whether or not we want to add additional work or living space above the garage, giving us also an opportunity to better optimize angles for solar, and also providing a larger south-facing wall surface here for an attached greenhouse that might be better performing solar greenhouse style as opposed to this lower roof gable style greenhouse. So in Summit County, according to the code, we would be working within a 10-foot setback for ground-mounted solar. We expect that an array like this would be under snow many days out of the year. While that may not impact production on an annual basis, we're interested in producing as much solar as possible daily. That got us thinking about ground-mounted systems that we could manually clear, or that could also be pitched steeper to better self-clear. So, in considering maximizing renewable energy and food production, we were reintroduced to the concept of agrivoltaics. And based on just a lot of intuition here and some shadow analysis, but going off of very little in terms of research that's available for a system like this, I have landed on this single pole, single panel system that I like for many reasons I'll describe. The backyard is likely to fill up with 5, 6, we've heard even 8 feet of snow in the most extreme years. So keeping the panels high would be to our advantage. And also the single pole, I imagine, will avoid concerns about snow drifting and blowing up against traditional ground-mounted racking system. So of course what needs to be figured out is the strength and wind loading of this kind of system, the size of concrete piers, the material here. I'm very curious if something like a wood pole is even a possibility. Right now we're designing for a very large panel, 400-watt panel, which might have much larger wind loading requirements than something smaller. So it could be that a smaller panel in vertical or horizontal positioning could be more ideal. Very flexible here in terms of some of the more typical cantilevered mounts, or maybe there's this racking in the center of the panel is best, but there are lots of options there to consider. So these two panels show a 50-degree winter tilt and a 30-degree summer tilt, just rough approximations. The winter tilt should better self-shed snow and of course produce better as well and take advantage of some reflected light. However, that's just an open consideration at the moment, some adjustable tilt. I would consider systems that provide for manual adjustment twice a year just to set the panels for winter and summer production. Okay, a couple other things to consider, just the overall system size here and current usage. So the property currently has 150 amp service coming in from the back of the property, running underground based on some paint marks that we've seen. I believe it runs under the garage in a straight buried cable to the meter on the house. However, if we go to the full extent here with agrivoltaic and roof mount, we'd be looking at a approximately 13.6 kilowatt system. So I'm not sure if that 150 amp service would support that at this time, or if that would need to be upgraded. Also, it's possible that with all of the solar install, that a new and large service might run to the garage first with the house operating on the sub panel. Okay, so let's look at some historic usage data. This property currently has an outdoor hot tub, which consumes an enormous amount of electricity in the winter months, which we would probably move away from. But for the time being, this annual usage of 19,000 kilowatt hours may help us when working with Xcel to approve such a large system. So we're looking at, and I've noticed this panel is actually outside of the setback. So maybe we're looking at 13 400 watt panels or thereabouts. Smaller panel, if we went with a smaller horizontal panel, it might allow for maybe stacking a third row in here or something to that effect. This isn't set, but this panel would have to go. So currently, I guess that would get us down to a 13.2 kilowatt system. So we're not going to be able to make a decision and would probably not be able to complete a remodel this year on the garage. So I'm also considering this going in multiple phases, if that's possible, to plan to initially install the ground-mounted solar, ideally to be operational before winter. And then at a later date, if the garage is modified, if the roof structure is changed up, this additional 20 panels with some northwest facing panels for late afternoon production would be added at a later date. I think that pretty well covers the initial thinking, with some of the biggest decisions being based around this pole mount design, and also just the installation sequence. So maybe in closing, we'll just take a quick look at one other thing, a discussion of some other discussion of the panels and the spacing. So right now things are spaced in this north-south direction based to avoid shading during the shorter low sun angle days. But of course, some of that shading is inevitable, as we can see on these back panels. The south panels would be completely shade free, but this could, and it's only a short amount of time with those shadows sweeping over the bottom, but a panel that can still produce with partial shading would be ideal. Also considered bifacial panels. They just get mentioned in the discussion of agrivoltaics because they would allow some diffuse light through, and also I think in this configuration would be more attractive. They with the light coming through those bifacial panels seems to be more attractive when stepping out on the back deck, as opposed to seeing white or opaque or black opaque surface here. So those are the considerations. I'd be really interested in your thoughts. Thank you.